Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Link Endurance Broadcast. Coach Mo here with you live at the moment with another fantastic episode. And these are actually the episodes that I like the best because I get to share a little bit of knowledge with you, the listener, the athlete, to make you better. But alongside with me, you guys can't see this, but I've got Miles Keller creepily staring at me through his iPhone or his Android in his truck in the parking lot. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? I'm at least smiling. Is it a creepy smile?
No. Well,
It's better if I do this.
That's weird. Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah, no expression and just dead stare.
Yep, just dead stare.
Love it when you do that. I find that's the best way to get their attention and let them know that you're interested in them, is by zero emotion on the face and just very dead stare.
How's that working out for you?
Great. Well, they're on the adductor machine especially.
Oh.
I find,
Absolutely.
That's the best, really.
Yeah, of course. That's exactly where you should do it. That's the only place you should while they're on the adductor or abductor machine. You got a 100% of chance of winning there.
Oh, for sure. Nothing turns on women like creepy dudes
right?
Staring at them in the gym.
Exactly.
Girls love it. I find when they put their hat down low, and they got their earbuds in,
right.
That's when they really want to be bothered and stopped in the middle of their workout.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And and ask like what you're doing, what's your goals, what do you work? Are you training for something? Yeah, they really like that. God. Anyway,
we should do a whole episode like that where I go to the gym and I try to we do an experiment, see what's the most efficacious way to talk to a fit chick at the gym.
Yeah, it's not. That's what it is. You don't. That's the most efficacious way. You leave them alone. But I'm really pumped about this episode also because I finally got the dadgum audio fixed for our podcast. I had to actually go in and repurchase call recorder. For some reason, the Skype update and the call recorder update didn't go through. So that's why the last two podcast episodes were a bit hairy as far as like sound quality goes. But we should have that fixed now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's good to see you, man. It's fun. The sun is finally coming out. It's full-on race season. Of course, every Texas race has to have crazy rain and weather. Has it been like that for triathlon? Like, I just follow OCR, man. But I know you're involved in triathlon and all that, too. Has it been that same way for triathlon?
Typically, yeah. I mean, it's the same. Like last year, I remember my last season racing triathlon was 2016. But, man, I think it was either that year or the year before where literally every weekend was cold and raining, and like almost through July. It was odd, and every weekend was raining. So like this past weekend when everyone was, or not this past weekend, Savage, but the weekend before, they actually canceled the Galveston 70.3 half Ironman mid-run. So they were pulling people off the course because they were having like hurricane wind gusts and stuff. Like it was crazy. So it happens, yeah.
Well, that happened this Saturday as well. I mentioned on the last broadcast that terrain race Fort Worth was free. And it was actually for the first time not at the motocross parkway over there in Fort Worth, but at the Texas Motor Speedway.
Oh.
In North Fort Worth,
right.
I believe technically Crum or Keller. I think it might be Crum. To figure out Westlake. Maybe that's Westlake. But anyways, it got canceled. But they also had a race scheduled for Sunday. So a lot of people went back on Sunday when the weather was beautiful. And they did the race out there, and I believe they have another one on May 11th. They did that, but of course there's no competitive wave, and I was already planning on doing Savage Race down in Central Texas. We say Central Texas, but I say Cat Spring is only like an hour and a half away from Houston. I consider that kind of South Texas, and you can tell because they've got the sand, these palm trees. Anytime you see that, man, it's really kind of South Texas. But we had the same problem there. We were afraid they was going to have to shut down the race because there was all day long a storm coming and going that was like north of us. It kept going around. At one point, it was really dark skies. The wind was howling, and we were actually putting out larger waves of people to making sure everyone gets a chance to have
Yeah.
plenty of time to run the course. And and everyone did, and it never ended up hitting, man. The wind tore up tents, blew stuff all over the place. Definitely made it challenging, and it sprinkled a little bit in the morning for the elites, which, for a mandatory completion race like Savage Race, that's always going to make it interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
All the best in Texas showed up. Even some people from outside of Texas. Savage Race has a big following, man, and that was a blast. Not only did I get a chance to experience what it's like to work that event and MC, you know me, man. I'm always motivating people. I'd say
Motivating?
motivating because it's a mud
God.
run. Yep. I did it, and I'm running with it. It's such an incredible experience to see those look on people's faces, especially the kids wave. I put out.
Whoa, you went dark on me, buddy. You got muted. Hold on. He'll come back in a second. Technology. Miles, the mud evader. I kind of like that. I still can't hear you. Can you hear me? Well, I can't hear you. So I'm going to let you figure out your volume and kick back in when you can. I don't know what in the hell just happened. But yeah, see if you can figure that out. That's weird. Still can't hear you.
Weird. I don't know what happened. We were talking. I didn't hit anything.
Well,
We're just talking.
I guess technology didn't like you saying motivator.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I said no, that's too corny. We can't do that.
And you're out. You're in timeout now. You can't say stuff like that.
Yeah. And but anyways, like I was saying, yeah, there's actually a lot of work that goes into it. You want to make sure you give a shout out and sponsor all those sponsors that come to be vendors at the race site and support OCR. And just outside of that race specific, you see, if you're already out there buying carbonated water or protein bars, protein powder, and support the companies that support the sport that we love. There was Bob's Red Mills makes these great peanut-based protein bars, and Zevia with their carbonated water and teas. There's all kinds of great companies out there like that. And then, at Spartan Race, you'll see Ascent Protein and things like that. These are all great companies. They're supporting the sport we love. So speak with your money and support them. If you're already buying those products, that's always a good way to go. But yeah, no, it rained a little bit. It rained a little bit on Saturday morning. So in mandatory completion races, especially with metal fixtures and metal truss, aluminum truss, it really it always makes it a little more slippery or whatnot. And it was a fast race on Saturday and Sunday. Now I decided to not compete on Saturday and just focus on emceeing because I had never done that full time. And I wanted to make sure I did a good job. And sometimes there's more satisfaction in helping people and getting them psyched up and enjoying the time than there is in the actual competing.
Yeah.
So I focused on that. Yuri Force came out for both days, man. That guy is incredible. We're hoping to get him on the show. He's only ever been interviewed on Matt B. Davis's podcast, like right across the finish line. But I got his phone number, and so we're going to be having him on. I gotta nail him down at a time, so I'm super excited for that. But he took first place both days. Vic came in second place on Saturday for the full blitz, followed by a guy named Mochito that I didn't know. I was really expecting a tight battle between Hunter Russell and Victor Quesada. Here in Texas, that's the most of what you'll see is those two going toe to toe.
Yeah.
And Hunter just wasn't able to run Saturday, plain and simple. That's what he said. No excuses. Didn't fail anything. Had a clean race. just couldn't put it all together. And then also there's the factor of, they have 4 new obstacles. I have 3 of which I believe were on the course on Saturday, if not all 4. So the first time you're coming across those obstacles, it always throws a little wrench in the gears, if you will.
Yeah.
And it's that sand running. It's really interesting, man. That's something a lot of us, especially our listeners, I'm not sure how many live in sand area, California, Florida, some area where you can practice sand running, but it's killer on the abductors, adductors, quads and hams. The ankle mobility is interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah, deep sand running is hard, dude. That's tough. What I found when you deep sand run, you've really got to shorten your gait and your stride, and it's almost akin to running uphill. You know what I mean? Because when your foot plants in sand, in loose sand, it's going to sink and it's going to move all around. So if you're trying to plant and do a long step, you're going to you're recruiting more muscles and in a different way, and it's costing energy. So it's easier just to do like quick, short, choppy steps like you're running uphill.
Yeah, that's a good point. That was a good point. And it wasn't the whole track wasn't like that. There was some single track too, so it was an interesting format, but true to form and being Texas, more South Texas and North Texas, it was flatter.
Right.
Which plays to our strengths, but of course that sand running, like you're mentioning, really kind of takes an extra toll out of you. But everything ended up going really great. Everyone had a great race. Yuri Force won with handedly. I don't know how many minutes he had a lead on Vic, but I think it was like 5 minutes or something like that. And that's
incredible.
The guy's just phenomenal. I think that Ryan Woods beat Yuri Force in Georgia a couple of weeks ago. Blows your mind when you watch the live feed of Lloyd and Bo chasing the top elites on their cart. It really doesn't do it justice, man.
Yeah.
You really have no idea just how fast.
They need to show this speedometer in their little vehicle, how fast they're going to catch these guys.
Yeah. No, these guys are averaging 5:30-minute paces.
That's ridiculous.
5:30, 6 minutes with obstacles on trails.
Yeah.
That's not track.
Yeah.
That's not pavement. That's real. That's absolutely incredible. I mean, that's why they're the best of the best.
Right.
But it does show definitely interesting when you're picking your races, and that's why Yuri Force is so unstoppable in Savage Race, because he pretty much just focuses on Savage Race.
Well,
he's so dialed into that distance, those obstacles, mandatory completion. You just see more and more athletes going for that race specificity and series. We don't really talk a whole lot about series specificity, but
specificity.
Specificity, yeah. I keep doing that. I'm just gonna rolling with it, man. I'm just gonna keep rolling with it.
Just say course specialization.
It's course specialization. That's distance specialist. I'm just gonna.
There you go. Hey, nice. We got it.
I'm gonna mess that up too and start going distance specialization.
Right. I like that though. But I'm curious. I'm interested to get him on the show and talk to him about that because I mean, you got Savage Race dialed in, but I want to see him go against all the Ryans and see what's up in a Spartan race.
Well, I don't think all the Ryans. I mean, I'm a big believer in all the Ryans, man. You know how close we are and good friends with Ryan Kent and all them.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could take on those really hard rigs and mandatory completion. I find, in my personal opinion, not there's anything wrong with it. Love Spartan. I love their obstacles. I find their obstacles significantly easier than Savage Race.
Yeah, I get that, but at the same time, yes, but if your grip is strong, if you've got a good grip strength, it doesn't matter. Like you can still do it. I mean, you got to think about it, man. These guys are only outside of not knowing the obstacle and like the little intricacies of it. The grip strength is the same. Like these guys are on an obstacle less than 10 seconds. And 10 seconds is a long time if it's wet and slick and muddy or something along those lines, right? So grip strength, and that's where like I talk to people and I hear people talk all the time about grip strength and improving grip strength and strength, like grip endurance yes, you need that, but you're not on an obstacle that daggum long. And I'll tell you this from personal experience. Look, I can go to a Savage race, clean race 100% of the time. Spartan race, clean race 100% of the time, minus a spear throw occasionally. Barring anything like if it's super slick and muddy and stuff like that. So, that whole thing around Spartan race is easy. It's not. It's no damn different. And it's going to be the same thing. Like if they went to a Savage race and hit those obstacles, they're going to be able to get across them just as easy. I mean, let me tell you something. You've shook hands with Ryan Atkins. Good God, that guy's got like a claw for a hand as far as his grip strength because of all the climbing and stuff like that he does. So it translates. So I don't buy the whole. Well, it's harder obstacles. Sure, it is, but it's not at that level. It's not going to matter. It's going to be more. It'll be more the mental side of it, and that's where that will come into play. Because if you see something like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, that's where you start to question yourself, and that's where you make those little bitty mistakes that would cost you a failure in an obstacle. It has nothing to do with grip strength.
Yeah, there's Ryan Atkins is a monster. He used to do all the battle frogs and everything. So Atkins have no problem with any obstacle in OCR period. And Ryan Wood has already proved himself in Savage race.
Yeah.
I would just like to see some of the other faster guys be able to get through some of those. I don't know. That's my opinion on that on that. But on the other side, what a lot of people don't know that happened this weekend, not only in City Field, but in Savage race. Because I'm interviewing these other pro athletes, they're also good friends of mine, and as I'm talking to them, they confide in me. Now, I don't want to put anyone out there. I don't want to put anyone on blast. I'm not going to call any names, but there was actually quite a bit of controversy this weekend amongst the elites about a lot of cheating going on and little things here and there. Say, for instance, on a Savage race, one of the top guys, a buddy of mine, he would happen to be filming on site there, and he got a freeze frame picture of someone's foot touching the ground up in inversion therapy. It only touched for a second.
Right.
But he kept going. One of the other guys was blamed of not completing Kiss My Walls, and because he fell off right at the bell and then kept going. And then in City Field, one of the podium guys, I won't say who, when you're supposed to do we call them jerry cans. They're carboys. They're 20-liter carboys full of water. If you ever done any of the stadium series,
yeah.
Talking about, normally it's a farmer's carry is the challenge there. Well, this gentleman put them on the ground and pushed them.
What?
Yeah. And two of the other podium contenders yelled at him and told him he couldn't do that. And he continued to do it till the spectator said, hey, you can't do that. And then he picked it up and finished it when he was already almost done with it.
Huh.
And these are podium finishers.
Right.
I'm not gonna. I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
On my play, and I'm not trying to put anyone on blast, but yeah, you definitely can't do that with the
right.
rule book that knows to do that. So, I don't know, man. The way the Stadium series has been evolving on the competitive side has been fascinating because you see a lot more elbows being thrown and people shoving, get more competitive, and it's easy to make those not that particular mistake, but make mistakes when you got race brain. Lord knows I've done it too accidentally. It's definitely easy to do that when you get race brain, but you're starting to see that a little more often, and because OCR is ran on volunteers, it's the sport doesn't happen without them. It's hard to judge every single one of those obstacles,
right,
and hold someone to it,
right.
But you definitely see some of that skirting and whatnot. But I think it's fascinating that at the same time, I think it's also kind of cool in the sport that the guys would rather be friends and encourage each other and then fight and argue about it. I feel like in other sports, there'd be a lot of fighting and arguing, and people would people would not let that go.
Yeah. Well,
For little tiny things, and understandably so. I get it. I just, we all hug at the cross the finish line, and we're all close friends.
yeah, but I think too, man, it's also, like you said, you have race brain, and I don't think, because people are so quick to judge and call out folks and call them cheaters and things like that. And yes, there's some legitimate claim to some of those things. Like if you shouldn't pick up a damn jerry can, pick it up, right? If there are certain things that you shouldn't be doing, that's different. But like if your foot brushes the ground or something along those lines, and you have to get. I'm more of a fan of giving the person the benefit of the doubt versus just demonizing them and trying to make them seem like a cheater and a bad person and all this other bullshit, which is completely false most of the time. But that's where the sport has to be legitimized and do like USA Triathlon, USA Track. Yes, we have more obstacles, but if we want to continue to grow, you've got to have officials. And USA Triathlon, for example, they have guys, and it's just like a membership. You pay an annual fee to be a USA Triathlon official. You go to a school, like it's like a weekend thing, right? But you are a paid official, and you pay a fee per year to do that, just like anything else. Like in triathlon, USA Track. And when I was adventure racing, you had to have a license to race. You had an annual fee, right? So in OCR, we don't have that. You just go sign up for races. And I think what they could do is, if they started to do something like that, like you've got to show your membership card in order to race. And that annual membership fee is like $35. It's nothing. It's, nothing to get bent out of shape about. But I think fees like that could go towards paying officials and creating an OCR official program. So that way you're not dealing with volunteers, and that way they know what to look at. They're trained to know what to look at. Because again, man, look, when you're talking about $3,000 on the line for a race in the pros, you better have some folks out there that know what's going on. You know what I mean? And even with the competitive waves, again, like I've never raced as a professional in triathlon, but I mean I've gotten penalties before for being too close to people on the bike in Ironman. The draft, the marshals are out there the entire race looking at every athlete. So I think once you get into the open waves, that's where you get the volunteers, right? That's when you can shift into having volunteers at the obstacles, because the open waivers are out there just going, they're going to test their limits and they're going to have fun. So if they touch the floor, if they touch this, that, and the other, should they be doing it from an efficacy standpoint? No, but it's let them go out and have a good time. And when they step into the competitive wave, the age group wave and or the elite wave, do the right thing. And that's where you have the officials. And that also saves time, because you're not going to have a paid official out there from 8 a.m. till 3 p.m. 2 days a week. That's very expensive. But you can have a paid official out there from 8 a.m. to noon, right? So as soon as the competitive wave is over, you have a switch. That's when the volunteers start. There you go. Obstacle course racing, just solve your problem. You're welcome.
Just solve your problem, and you're welcome.
So
yeah, it's interesting because inherently, man, every different race has different obstacles, and standardizing those would be darn near. No,
impossible. But you got You're right, but you have standard, like every obstacle race has the same thing, right? You can't touch the rig, right? You can't touch the framing of any overhead rig. You can't touch the ground. If there's a bell, you can't kick it. You got to hit it. It has to be audible. You have to hear it, right? So things like that, like you could take the exact same rules that you do at a Spartan race and go to NORAM and apply it to Lagaff or something like that. It's the same damn thing.
Well, I believe Savage Race actually does let you. Some races do let you kick the bell.
Right. Well,
then, I get why you should not be able to kick the bell, because there in Burnett, not Burnett, excuse me, in what we're calling Spartan San Antonio, I've seen people, they kick the bell and it swings around and gets hung up.
Exactly.
So the next person can't use that lane. It does complicate things.
Oh, for sure.
Especially if you see someone in a lane, by the way, pro tip, don't go through the same lane they're going through on a rig, because they might get stuck at the end. They can't reach the bell or something of that nature, and you're stuck suspended there at a dead hang.
Yeah.
And you do that for so long.
Right.
So,
right. Good tip. All right.
Yeah, but and then the Sunday race, I competed there, and I had a really good race, man. I had a clean race. I plumb and plain simple, plumb didn't run fast enough. That's all. I took first place in my age group, which is cool because the past 3 years I placed third, second, now first in my
Right.
age group. But I've done better overall. I got 22nd pro men, and but it was a lot of fun. And then immediately went to the stage and started working
Yeah.
and sing. And the people you meet there, the people behind Savage Race that work there and do that for a living, have incredible backstories that you
Right.
would never, man. You don't see them. Thank those people and thank the volunteers when you're on course, because they really care, and you'd be amazed. I'm not going to put any of their business out on the podcast,
No.
but they've overcome incredible personal struggles and obstacles
Well,
to
yeah, a lot of people have, man. Like most people have come over some crazy shit.
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
You would never think that outside of that, man. But what a cool experience, man. And I hope to be the motivator again soon.
I'm sure you will. You got to trademark that name. And I'm laughing because your description of your race. I plumb didn't run fast enough. Listen, we've got to get you out a little bit more and and speaking to people. Because as we go and you become more and more single, your redneck is getting worse.
I know
That's
true.
the reason you can't pronounce specificity any better than before. Well, good, man. I'm glad you had a good time. I'm glad it was fun. Sounds like a great race, and be looking forward to doing some more. Savage Race is coming to Dallas in September, right?
Yeah. I know. Excuse me, October 5th and 6th.
Oh, I might be ready by then.
Yep, they call it Dallas, but it's Grandview.
Yeah. Whatever. It's close to Dallas. October.
They're getting more people flying in from out of state. By the way, there's people there from Nebraska,
Good.
Ohio, Colorado, from all over that are really finding like they love that format and are willing to travel far for it.
Good.
So it's an awesome race series.
Good
and
job,
I hope
Savage.
You're up. So how are you feeling, man? I know you're still injured. You're still staying active and getting the workouts in, and you obviously have an incredible amount of mental fortitude and emotional strength.
Yeah.
You know, how are you getting through that? How are you feeling? What's going through your mind?
Well, I'm pretty good, man. I have actually, today we record is Wednesday, and I have surgery Friday morning. So this Friday morning, I'm having my ACL repaired with a cadaver and a meniscus repaired as well. So we'll be getting ready for that. And actually, they say it's a 6-month recovery period. We'll see how long that actually takes. Here's why I'm excited about this, because I love to prove that the standard pro quo isn't across the board for every human being. And if you take care of your body, you take care of your mind, then you can do incredible things. And healing is one of those things. So I'm going to give myself 5 months. I've been told 6 months from surgery till I'm cut loose and free to do whatever I want to do. But I'm thinking maybe closer to 5, but we'll see. But look, if I get to 5 months and I'm not ready, I'm not going to push it, because this, it does suck not being able to run. And I kind of had my first little thing of regret this week. I was looking at someone's Facebook profile, and they were running on a trail in Seattle, and it's this beautiful trail. I was like, I need to go run, and I just forgot that I couldn't. I was like, oh, damn it. But no, dude, I got surgery on Friday, and actually I'm going to make a post I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to do either Instagram Live or Facebook Live, or maybe both. I'm going to do a little pre-op nutrition. So how I'm getting ready for surgery, and what I'm going to eat the 72 hours post-op, to make sure that I'm eating clean. I'm eating what I need to eat. I'm getting the nutrients that I need to help minimize and reduce inflammation as fast as possible, which we have a question about that, and speed up the healing process.
Quick question. I want to rewind about 3 minutes. You mentioned cadaver.
Yes.
I'm not as maybe I'm not as educated as you in the medical terminology, but the only
Right.
way I know of cadaver is a dead body.
Correct.
I thought when they do ACL repair, man, they just go in there and they make a slight cut, and they're working with what is existing there. When you
No.
say
So
cadaver,
so typically what they do, there's one called an autograft, and that's where they take either your patellar tendon or part of your hamstring tendon, and then they make that your new ACL. Or there's one called an allograft, and that's where they take a cadaver. So my doctor told me to do. He was like, "Look, man, with technology now and the way they've streamlined the process of how they collect the cadaver ACLs, he was like, that's the way I'm going to recommend you go. It's a faster healing process." He's like, you can run risk of having weakness in the quadricep, numbing in the quadricep around the tendon. Same thing with a hamstring. So that's why. Yeah, there are a lot of ways to do that. Like you can do cadaver, spine and disc replacements. So you can use cadaver for a lot of things. So that's what I'm doing.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Here's a crazy question for you. If you wanted to, could you find out who the cadaver was?
No, I don't think you can. What's that?
You're not curious?
I am curious, but I'm just going to go ahead and visualize and manifest that I've got a very strong ACL cadaver, and I'm going to help mentally create those proteins to make it strong and be fixed 100%. So, but yeah, and I'm going to be posting about my recovery a lot on Instagram, on the stories, on Link Endurance Coaching, and also on the Link Endurance Facebook page. So be watching for that. And also, just a quick reminder before we get into all this other fun stuff, BroSet Performance Coaching, my mindset coaching. Because I know, look, here's the deal. We all do obstacle races, everyone that listens to this show, but very few percentage of us are actually professional obstacle course racers. We all have full-time jobs and stressors and things like that. So I've created a YouTube channel as well for BroSet Performance Coaching where I talk about mindset tips, stress reduction, all that stuff for like travel, for making cooking easier mentally. So if you have not checked out BroSet Performance Coaching on YouTube, check it out and subscribe because I've got a lot of good, juicy information that's going to help you perform like a mental ninja in your professional career. So, but yeah, dude, I'm excited about this surgery. I'm ready to get it done with. And the odd thing is it's going to be almost a month. Well, no, I got injured on, I think, the 24th of March. Surgery is on the 19th, so almost shy of a month of being injured. And like I've got almost full range of motion back. I jogged through a parking lot on Sunday. I was like, yes, I can jog. But it's irrelevant because I'm going to have surgery in a week and I'm not going to be able to do a damn thing for a couple weeks. So, but no, dude, I'm excited about it. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Ready to get this damn thing on the road. And check this out. Another quick update for you before we get into questions. Remember I talked about my buddy Neil Smith, the guy he's actually 47, not 48, that increased his VO2 max and had that fastest run time on Strava. Yeah. So he just ran Boston this past Monday. 47 years old, ran a 2:59:45. Fastest Boston time ever in his career. So again, that just goes to prove the point, bro, that it doesn't matter age. You can still be fast as hell. And here's the kicker. He sent me a text. He goes, I finished in 2:59 or 2:59:45 right behind Gene Dykes, who's 70 years old.
Wow.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, that's amazing, dude.
Right?
That's amazing. You mentioned that story. I wonder if that's the same guy we mentioned earlier that made news.
Could be.
You remember the 70-plus-year-old gentleman? That's incredible. I wish we could get that guy on the show.
Yeah. Well, it could have been him. I think so. I think what it was it could have been Gene Dykes because right before I did my 50, because this guy does ultra marathons as well. The guy I think you're referring to, he did 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days for his 70th birthday.
Yes.
Yeah.
The same guy.
Yep. Absolutely. So it's probably him. So this dude ran a 2:59 marathon. Let that sink in for a second. At 70 years old.
I'm half his age and I couldn't do it, man.
Right? So when I hear people talk about, well, I'm in my 30s, I'm getting old, I can't do what I used to, bullshit. Get that thought out of your head. Train different, change your mindset, and you can get a little faster. Now listen, I'm not saying that everybody can run a 259. Some people are just physiologically better adapted to that stuff. But my point is, just because you've crossed the threshold of 35 or 40 doesn't mean you're going to slow down. And I'm going to continue to preach that. Another point, my client Annette Mucklebust just came back from City Field where she got on the podium again. And she was like, look, I got to race elite next year because I'll be 54 years old and I'm continuing to be on top of the podium and I want to challenge myself. She was like, on this race, and she wasn't keyed in and dialed in 100%, but she would have been top 25 in the elite women at 53 years old. So, you can do it, man. I can't, oh my God, I get so fired up about this that, that's why it pisses me off when I hear people say, when I talk about like my injury and stuff like that, like, oh, once you get over 40, your feet should never leave the ground. No, you're wrong. Anyway.
You guys got to see this on video. We've really got to start recording this on video, man.
Well, it actually is. So with the Skype update, it is. It's actually recorded on video. So I mean, I could post it, but we'll see. I might actually do that. I might try to post this on the Link Endurance YouTube channel and see what's up. See if anybody likes staring at us for however long we're doing this podcast. But
I gotta figure out some other stream of income now, man. You have the YouTube channel for Link Endurance. Maybe I should start like a cam guy.
Dude, bro,
but cam girls.
You gotta No, you have to have an obscene amount of followers to get paid on YouTube. Because I tried to do that back in the day, like when I was doing Eat Real or Move, and I had cooking videos, and one of my buddies he's a professional videographer, was shooting them for me. We were doing the numbers. I can't remember what it is. You got to have like thousands of views on a video to make like $5. So,
Yeah, more.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So I'm trying to get information out there. That's the goal, right?
A lot of people actually start monetizing that with Patreons.
Yeah.
And just kind of support me, GoFundMe type of setups where people could donate, whether it's $1 or something like that.
Right.
So
right.
There's situations for that.
Oh, for sure.
I was starting to try and do that with Vic when me and Vic worked together, but now that we work in separate places, I can't record the OCR minute. I could be doing it by myself. It's just not as fun without Vic.
See, that's where you got. Here's what we're gonna do, buddy. I'm gonna bro set performance coach you real quick. This is free. You ready?
Okay.
Miles, you have what we call a fixed mindset, right? You see what you just said to me is indicative that you need the support and the presence of another person in order to succeed. Where in fact, if you change your mindset to a growth mindset and an achiever's mindset, you can go out and you can do whatever you put your mind to. You just have to have the motivation and put the plan together and then attack. See that? You're welcome.
You're absolutely right. No, I already know that. You're absolutely right. It's just not as fun.
Yeah. Oh, I know. No. Yeah. I get it. Like when I record right now, I'm not interviewing folks yet. I'm just trying to get some information out. And like I sit in my office by myself and I record my podcast. I'm like, making myself laugh. And it's just, yeah, I'm like, all right, you knucklehead. Anyway. Yeah. All right. Yo, let's get into some of these questions. We're like almost 40 minutes into this thing. We haven't even done questions yet.
Okay.
All right. So let me pull them up here. We had some pretty good ones, and these were oddly nutritional. So I'm not going to get too specific with them, but we'll do what we can. So first question comes from Jamie Gillen. Always love hearing from this dude. Love this guy. He said he wanted to know about leading into and out of C races. He said my A race is NORAM, and with my qualifying attempts as my quote B races. But there are others, local road races mostly, along the way. Do you approach these with a mini taper? And his question is, I struggle with programming these weeks. I want to maintain training. I don't need to PR these events, but I don't want them to be horrible performances either. And try to work out a compromised schedule. So I asked him a follow-up question like, how long in between events are you talking about, right? Are you doing like racing every weekend or what's the case? And he gave me the list. He said, I have a 5K on Friday, a 10 miler a week from Sunday, then Spartan Sprint May 12th as my B race, the Spartan Sprint. And then he said, I have, if my goal is met, I have a 10 miler on June 2nd, possibly a 10K June 23rd, Savage on July 23rd or July 13th, and maybe a Fit challenge July 20th, all as C's before NORAM in August, on August 10th. So I did some math on this, and bear in mind my math skills are terrible. But so basically what he's talking about, so it goes back to like, what's the goal, right? What's the goal of the race? And you, obviously, your C races, you can go into a C race a little bit fatigued just to see how your body would perform under load. Like that's what I do for my triathlon clients. Like I have an athlete right now that I'm training for a half Ironman in June, and I had her go do a 3-hour ride with a 30-minute run bricked off of it on Saturday, and then race a sprint triathlon on Sunday, with the goal being going into that sprint triathlon, understanding that her body would be fatigued. But that's what you're going to face when you get into the throes of a half Ironman distance triathlon. And it's good to push yourself. And that's where it's kind of like you're not overtraining, you're overreaching. You're reaching in your training program. So it's good to go and do some of those things. So I think, Jamie, and listen, man, with what you're doing, like you said, you're doing, you've got a 10 miler on between the 5K and the 10 miler. There's 3 weeks, or I'm sorry, there's 8 days, because the 5K is this Friday and the 10 miler is next Sunday. And look, man, honestly, you should be able to go out and throw down a 5K and it not have any repercussions on you at all, because that's just a solid training day. Like now, I would tell you to go easy the day after, just maybe do like a flushed, very aerobic 30 to 40 minute base run, or even a spin on a bike just to flush out your body so you're not taxing it too much. But you're throwing down a 5K in under 25 minutes. The load is not going to be that great on your body. Now, you've got 3 weeks between the 10 miler and the Spartan Sprint. So yeah, you can go do that 10 miler. I wouldn't go and try to just go balls to the wall on it, because it's going to take you, it'll take you 6 to 7 days for your nervous system to recover from that 10-mile bout, right? So therefore, you're losing basically a week of what you could be training. So you could do some segments of that, like you could do it at like a tempo run. You could do it in that 10 miles. The first 3 miles is at 60%, 70%. You do the middle 3 miles kind of at your 5K pace, and then you dial back the last mile or two. So, but basically, your June 2nd is a 10 mile, and then you got another 10K on June 23rd. That's 3 weeks, and then 2 weeks after that is a Savage race. So it seems like a lot, right? What I would tell you to do is, and this is what I do for everybody just to be safe, and if you're going to do those things, I would give you the first 48 hours at least after each of those races is more of like a recovery training session, right? So you're doing, again, like a 30 to 40 minute easy run with some mobility in there, but you're limited to about 30 to 40 minutes. And based on how you feel too. If you're sleeping well, if you wake up and you're not really sore, then you can do just a little bit more. But just to be safe, that first 48 hours, take it a little bit slow. And then like your mini taper that you're asking about, yeah, like if I'm going to go do a 10-mile run or a 10-mile road race on this Saturday, I'm not going to do anything on Friday. I'm going to make sure that Thursday is about a 40 to 45 minute run, and I'll throw in about 5 to 6 20 to 30 second intervals in there, like sprints, but not like an all-out sprint, just like a pickup, right?
Tempo.
Yeah, like a tempo run, exactly. And then the next day, the day before the race, I'm going to do MOGA. I'm just straight up doing mobility, working on hydration, and chilling, because you're not going to gain any fitness the day before the event, right? So that's what I would tell you to do, man. Honestly, unless you absolutely have to, I would completely eliminate that fit in July, because you've only got if you're doing Savage race on July 13th, then 7 days later you're doing another race, and then 3 weeks later you've got NORAM. Bro, that's not enough. Like you're setting yourself up for not being able to recover as much. So what I would tell you to do is put your money on that Savage race on July 13th. Do not do that fit race on the 20th, and then go into your taper for NORAM the week before. Does that make sense? Am I making sense, Miles?
I actually 100% agree with her. That was exactly what I was going to say. For those really short 5Ks and 10Ks and things of that nature, you don't really have to do anything different than a normal taper, or your body's going to recover by the next race for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't want to get them too close back to back. And it's interesting, the fit challenge, the way I understand it, I'll give the caveat that I have not done this race, but it looks like the Epic series, where there's a lot of lifting involved, and I believe there's different style lanes. Yeah, like in the Epic series there in California, Vic broke it all down for me one day. We were talking about it, and I've met quite a few people who have done it, which is supposed to be a great series, by the way. Give it a chance. I believe it's predominantly just there on the West Coast, if I remember correctly. But anyways, they'll have a strength leg, where it's actually two different races. One's strength and one's endurance.
Yeah.
Strength stuff will be like, hey man, pulling a truck.
Right.
At a huge Atlas.
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
Stuff like that. Powerlifting, maybe more might be a better.
Oh, so it could do. It's doing a lot of neurological damage and fatigue. Then, if you're pulling trucks and doing heavy stuff like that.
Well, then there's also the endurance that's more OCR style.
Gotcha.
Where they actually
okay, I got you. I see what you're saying.
These are normally shorter bouts. You know what? Contact us or contact me. Let me know if I'm wrong. I have not done that series, but that's the way I understand it.
Yeah.
And then a Savage race, hey man, are you doing the 6 mile or are you doing the 3 mile on Sunday? Because let me tell you, I'm gonna get a chance to use this course specialization.
You did it.
Specialist. No, you know what? Screw that. Big true to me, Bo. Course specificity.
Jeez.
I'm doing it. It's becoming a bigger deal. Let me tell you, man. A lot of guys came out and ran just Sunday.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Did not on Saturday.
Yeah.
And you did not see it as often as you do now. You're getting the guys that love the short courses.
Yeah.
Like our buddy Cash Tavakali, you know him.
Yep.
He showed up. Him and several others came out just for Sunday.
Yep. Cody Thrift.
Ford.
Yep.
Cody, our boy, the
snowcat. Yeah. Wow.
He came out too. All these guys that come out, man, just for that, because they don't like the longer stuff.
Yeah.
I know. I start to fall apart after 5-6 miles.
Yeah.
That's not my jam. I like that. That's why I definitely don't want to go out and just MC and not, because I can't stand seeing all the race and not being able to get into it myself. So I just ran on Sunday. But you're seeing more of that. So it also has to do with all the info you gave Mo. This gentleman also didn't say what is his exact goal. Are you trying to podium? Are you doing age group or elite?
No, he's racing age group. So Jamie's racing age group. He's in the Northeast. He's and I saw him last year at NorM as well, and he had an issue on Urban Sky. And that's the thing, man. Like, so he's saying that like these 10Ks and stuff like that, those are his C races. And he said, I'm not trying to podium or win or PR, but I don't want to have he's saying I don't want to have a shit race, right? I want to do well. So like that's where, dude, you can also, I didn't say this, like if you're doing a 10 miler or a 10K on Saturday, I mean, go do some upper body grip work on Friday, right? Like you're not going to be doing any grip on Saturday. So you can do some mobility on Friday, like lower body mobility, and then do some dead hangs, do some grip work, do some things like that. That's not so taxing on your overall system. And then go in and do the race. So,
and I tell you what, Savage Race's new obstacle inversion therapy will throw you for a loop. That thing looks easy. It's not easy. I would not only practice not so much grip, but core work.
Yeah.
So I don't think you've seen this obstacle yet, but imagine just a couple feet off the ground. There's 3 sections of poles.
Yeah.
Kind of like Twister's 3 sections, right? 3 sections, but the first one is a simple metal pole. The second one has a big, thick PVC pipe. And this changes from race to race, so you never know what you're going to get.
Right.
Had a big PVC pipe that rolls around on that next metal pole.
Right.
And it's very wide. So you can't get one arm, one hand on top of it. It's very awkward.
Yeah.
And the third section was what's called a caving ladder. And the caving ladder obviously has a lot of give. Are you familiar with those?
Yep.
Mo?
Yeah.
There was a lot of give.
Yeah.
really weird to make that transition. And that's actually where one of the suspect photos that someone sent me, that's where someone their foot accidentally touched the ground.
Right.
Understandably so, how easy that would be there. But being able to have that strong core,
Right.
to be able to keep your legs up, maybe practicing an L sit, you
Right.
know, it goes, practicing for these, watch. There's so many YouTube videos of people going through with their what are those things called? Go cams,
GoPros.
GoPros. Thank you.
Good God.
Their GoPros. and trying to get an idea of, to be able to visualize yourself going through these obstacles.
Yeah. So, that's good information. But back to Jamie's question, like I would tell you to do, if you want to do a mini taper, look, I'm going to tell you that before these races, about 48 hours before, don't keep your run short, keep the effort minimal. The week of a race, like if you're going to do a Savage race on July 13th, that week, you should be doing, I would do I would do a quality run on Monday. So you're doing like a tempo run on Monday, but no longer than 45 minutes. Tuesday is some mobility, maybe a little bit of grip work. Wednesday is about a 30-minute base run, just nice and easy. Thursday is more mobility. Friday, again, I would do mobility, so if the race is Saturday, or Thursday, you can do like a 20-minute run, just nice and easy. And then Friday is mobility, and then you go race. Because look, you're not going to gain anything on race week. All the fitness is already acquired. So race week, it's just about staying sharp, focusing on nutrition, hydration, and getting race ready. So good luck with it, brother. If we can help you out anymore, always message us and let us know. All right, let's move on. So I'm not going to say his whole last name because I screw it up always. I'm just going to say Chris Miko. So that's going to be your name, brother. Chris Miko. There you go. His question was, let me pull it back up. He wanted to know everyday performance nutrition and recommendations for ultra distance nutrition, where you may be running for 8 to 12 to 24 to 48 hours. And he says, I'm leaving that open-ended just to see where you take it. I'm hoping to get into some of the week before the race nutrition, including macros and micronutrients. So look, and this goes for everybody and all the other questions too. I'm not going to get into macronutrients with people. I've got to know you and your specific needs, because everybody's macronutrients are 100% different. And honestly, I don't count macros. I don't do it. I've never have. I never will. My wife, Alex, doesn't do it either. And we have great success with our athletes in weight loss and sport performance. There are other ways to do it besides, and that's the thing, man. Like I think people get so effing hung up on macros that it becomes more work than it should be. Same thing with micronutrients. Like taking fish oil, taking a greens supplement. The one I recommend is Green Vibrance in capsule form. There's your micronutrients. Doing that and eating predominantly plants and good quality grass-fed meats and healthy fats. So now, because again, I can't get into macronutrients with people. I don't do it, and I think and I know there's a much easier way to get into nutrition. So with regards to everyday nutrition for ultra distance, that's where it's very beneficial to be more on a higher fat diet, because if you're doing ultra type running, you're using predominantly fat for fuel. You get more energy out of that system. You're in that energy system for a lot longer period of time, pretty much predominantly the entire time, and your need for carbohydrates is at a minimal. Now, yes, you need them, but you don't need them as much, say, as if you're going to go do the Savage race that we're talking about, or a Spartan Super where you're going to crush it, or even a Spartan Beast. So because you're using a completely different energy system and you're just running. So that's where the higher fat daily nutrition would come into play. And again, based on you and your daily activity levels, your stress levels, your training volume and intensity, that's where we would start to tailor your nutrition. Now, I'll tell you what I would also do for those where you're going to be running for an extended period of time, and where fat efficiency really does bode well, is doing some fasted training runs. So I always do, if I'm doing something like that, I'm going to do 1 to 2 easy fasted runs a week for 60, maybe 90 minutes at most. But predominantly it's a 60-minute fasted run. And I'm in like low zone 2. Like we can just have an easy conversation running. You're not doing any tempo. You're not doing pickups. You're not doing hills. And then afterwards, and then afterwards, when you're finished, taking like an amino acid supplement, like an essential amino acid, like MAP, master amino acid pattern, is something that's good. So that way you have some aminos on board, but you're still, quote, in a fasted state to maximize fat burn. And then you can do on your longer runs. What's up?
You briefly extrapolate on fasted. How long are you fasted at this point?
Oh, well, you haven't eaten since dinner the night before. So like, if typically most of us go do our runs in the morning, right? So if I eat, I'm trying to run on at least a 12-hour fast. So 6 to 6. Now, if you can't, that's fine. But if you can do 10 hours, that's good too. And then doing some longer runs, like if you're going to go do, a 15-miler on Saturday, the first hour is fasted. And then at the 60-minute mark, then you start to fuel. And you fuel with something like, I love Spring Energy. That's what I used for my Ultra. And it worked great because it's a combination of fats, amino acids, and carbs. So it's not just a sugar bomb that's hitting your gut. That over time, when you're eating a lot of carbohydrates for fuel, especially once you get north of 8 hours or even up to 8 hours, the body can't process it very well. So what ends up happening is you start to get distended, like you start to get your stomach feels full, you get real gassy, because what's happening is those carbohydrates are starting to ferment in your gut. So again, that's where it bodes well for you to be more fat efficient, and going off of more like a combination of something like a Spring Energy, the long haul Spring Energy that is a combination of fat, carbs, and protein from amino acids. So that's what I would do. And look, you got to trial this thing out. That's where training runs come in. Like go do a long training run on Saturday. Wake up, drink some water, go run, and at 60 minutes, start fueling. And when I say start fueling, if you're going for fat efficiency, taking in about 100 to maybe 150 calories per hour at most. So again, like what I would do a Spring Energy at 60 minutes, then I would do another one at 2 hours, then I would do another one at 3 hours if I'm running for that long. And that's how I would pace it. Then when you finish those runs, you refeed. That's when you refuel the body with carbs. You don't go throw down a bunch of pancakes and junk like that. But you eat fruit, eat clean sources of carbs to replenish the glycogen stores that you did burn and use. So that way you're recovered and you're repaired for the next bout. But that's what I would say. And then he also asked a question about, and we talked about this last week with Gawitsky, about running a relay style race. And I want to get into this just a little bit more, where you run for an hour or two, then you have a break while the other group runs. And he says after a short time, your body's going to go into recovery mode from performance mode. Is there a way to prevent that so the next leg you can be ready? So, and that's like, again, like running like a Ragnar. And that's probably what he's talking about. But what I do in those cases is, and we talked about this again, I just want to reiterate it. As soon as you come back in from your leg, your priority is to refuel and hydrate. Refueling with something quick and clean, a simple carb source. Again, something like Spring Energy, something like juice, apple juice, orange juice, tart cherry juice. I love tart cherry juice because it has antioxidants that help prevent muscle fatigue and soreness. So doing something like that where it's quick absorption, your body doesn't have to break it down like solid food. And then about 15 to 20 minutes before your next leg, you're up and you're moving. You're doing mobility. You're doing moga. You're doing hip bridges. You're doing some lunges, some down dogs, and things like that to prepare your body. So that's what I would recommend for you, Chris, along all those lines. Anything, Miles?
No, man. I'm not the nutrition guy. I get general. I'll be up playing Call of Duty and get hungry and have some grapes and some yogurt covered pretzels, and maybe
that's what you do.
Like the whole damn bag. So
right,
that's a sugar and not good for inflammation and rest. So
yeah, all right.
I'm very out in the open that even though I coach athletes and I'm always a help, I am not authorized to give advice on nutrition. So
nice. All right, so we got next one comes from actually one of my OCR athletes, Aluk. And he wanted to know, he said, I weigh 132 pounds. For all the workouts that you plan for me, what should the portion of fats, carbs, and proteins in each of my meals so I don't put on more muscle mass but continue to gain more strength and power? So again, going back to what I said for Chris's question. I'm not a macros person. I don't count them, and I don't recommend it. That's why I haven't given it to you so far. And the key is to just eat food. Now, you can log your food on something on MyFitnessPal, and that'll give us a good idea. But again, to really get where you should be with your nutrients, you need to do an RMR test, so a resting metabolic rate test. That's where you go fasted in the morning and you breathe into this machine, and it gives you what your resting metabolic rate is. And then based on your daily activity level on top of that and your training performance and your training load, you can get a better estimate of your total caloric needs. And then you break it down from there. So number one, that's what you would have to do if you wanted to do it macro-wise. We really just look at, like Alex and I look at it, basically most of us need to be around 100 grams of carbs, 80 to 100 grams of carbs per day. And then if you need to, you can bump it up around workouts. But the other thing is, like, especially with OCR, right? Like, based on the training and what you're doing, you're not building muscle, right? Like, a majority of Aluk's training is running. I've got 2 strength workouts planned a week, right? And then maybe a grip workout sparsed in there outside of that. But and people, like, you don't have to worry about building muscle, especially when you're doing the volume of running and cardio that we do for obstacle course racing, right? Like, we're not going and doing a bunch of heavy sets, and the workouts that were programmed aren't designed for muscular hypertrophy or muscular growth. So, a training plan would have to have that specificity, to gain muscle, and that would have to be the goal, would be to put on size. So Luke, you're not going to put on size, number one. Number two, you would have to train specifically for that, and you'd have to be eating an asinine amount of calories to bulk up, which again, you're not going to do. So, and look, if you gain just a tiny bit of muscle from getting stronger, that's not going to slow you down, right? But because again, the volume and the intensity at which that you're running, and this goes for every other athlete that's listening, that the predominance of your program is running, you're not going to get big. So don't worry about it. So then the next question came from Sophia, and it's almost the same line. She says, I recently switched to tracking macros, and I finally started seeing weight loss. I was eating about 300 more calories a day for a month, but now that I've moved to lower calories, minus 240, and macros, I'm stuck again. What gives? So again, this is one of the, just because so anytime you change a nutrition plan, anytime you clean up your diet and you reduce calories, specifically when you reduce carbohydrates, you're going to lose water weight, right? That's going to be a bulk of what you lose. That's why everybody gets so excited about diets, and they lose, in these weight loss plans promote, lose up to 30 pounds in 30 days. So there's a doctor who does specifically fasting for people, right? Like, this guy takes people on 7 and 10 day fasts and then leads them out of it, and then does it for medical reasons, weight loss reasons, and beyond. And he said across the board, the most fat a human will lose in a 7-day fast is 3 pounds. He said, and usually across the board, most people will lose an average of 10 to 11 pounds total in the first week of a fast. And that's just drinking water, right? So 7 pounds of what you lose is water weight, because for every gram of carbohydrate that you eat, it takes 3 to 3.5 grams of water to store that carbohydrate. So that's why people lose weight when they change their macros and they reduce the amount of carbs that they take in. So yes, you're going to have an initial weight loss. Everybody is. And everybody's going to have a fluctuation, right? And that's just life, right? You're going to have weeks where you lose weight. You're going to have weeks where you don't lose weight. You're going to have weeks where you might gain weight. That's where, like, when the show The Biggest Loser was on, Alex and I would get so frustrated with it, because these people are working their asses off, and they would have, a week where they lost a pound, or they may have gained a pound. But what people aren't taking into consideration is, and this is what I'm going to tell you, Sophia, it's the same thing, right? We all have to stop losing weight at some point. The body can't continuously lose weight, and you're going to fluctuate based on your sleep, your stress levels, your training load, volume, and intensity, the quality of food that you're eating. So if you're counting macros and you're cutting macros, but you're still eating some processed foods, you're maybe eating canola oil, you're consuming artificial sweeteners, that's going to have an impact on your ability to continue to lose weight. The timing of your meals. So if you're not eating at the same time, if you're eating too late, if you're eating too much too late, right? All these things play into being successful in weight loss. And remember also that weight loss is a journey, right? This is something that's going to take a while for your body to get used to. And again, it's going to be an ebb and a flow. So you have to look into all those factors as to why you're stuck. Predominantly your sleep, your stress, your training, and the food quality and the timing of the meals. So those things you have to look into. And then you can start to dial in, the macros, but don't give up, right? That's where people start to fall off the wagon. They get frustrated and like, well, this isn't working anymore. They throw their hands up and they go back to what they used to do. Don't do that. Go through what I just told you to go through. Understand that this is a process and it's going to take time. You're not always going to lose weight. So let health be the goal, let fitness be the goal, and let the weight be what it is. And again, I understand that some people need to lose weight, yes. But if you focus on other things outside of just the scale, then you will start to get better results. What do you think about that, Miles? You good?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, look, man, it's super easy to get lost in the numbers. You will spend so much time when you initially first start getting into fitness in general. People get super psyched because that's normally the period of time that you see the most amount of gains.
Right.
Weight loss, performance, all these great things. So you get psyched, and then a good percentage of us make it a part of this lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but after a while, yes, that stuff starts to plateau. And so then you really, like, you've already been watching these macros and watching these numbers, and you're like, okay, now you're starting to freak out a bit. So now you're going to focus even more on those numbers.
Yeah.
But you don't have to. You can just, these general guidelines that Mo is saying about eating healthy, it's simpler. Don't make it too complicated in your head. And keep in mind that we're endurance athletes. And you can actually get away with eating a lot more. If you guys only seen the diets of the top tier athletes that we interview, you would blow your mind. That's first of all, they definitely don't count macros. I've only met a couple of them that still count their pedometer, and I'm like, why are you still counting your steps every day? They just like doing it. They've gamified it.
I've got a client that does the same thing. You know who you are. I'm not going to say your name. Got to get those 10,000 steps in, bro.
Yeah. But they're like fit as can be, 6-pack and the whole bit, just like really high performing individuals. They're like, yeah, I'm gonna get that 15,000 steps in a day.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But that's where they started from. Just keep in mind that you're an endurance athlete, and some macros will play a bigger variable, I should say.
Oh.
And do other sports, say you're in bodybuilding.
Here's what I was going to talk about. I need to talk about this really quick, not to cut you off, but I was thinking about something the other day, and I wanted to talk about it, and I got where I was going because I didn't want to type while I was driving. Safety first. And now I remember it. That's what so weight gain, specifically in women and in endurance sports, you got to factor in hormones. Ladies, around your cycle, or when you're ovulating, when you're on your period, depending upon your age, right? There have been, and specifically in women, a lot of times endurance sports, OCR, marathon, triathlon, does not equate to fat loss. And I know that's kind of the draw. That's part of the draw of this is I'm going to be an endurance athlete. I'm going to look like Lindsey Webster. I'm going to have a 6-pack. I'm going to do all these things. You're not factoring in your hormones and your lifestyle. And a lot of ladies actually gain weight training for ultra endurance events and events like OCR. So if that's the case, if you're eating great, if your diet is clean as hell, but you're gaining weight, you have to look at your stress levels. You have to get a hormone panel done by your doctor, like a full-blown hormone panel, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, all those things. You've got to get blood markers looked at. So, because again, it could be the fact that it's your hormones and not your training and not your macronutrients. So that's a big thing with endurance athletes, even guys too. Guys suffer from that as well. If you're overdoing your training and you're stressed out in life and you're continuing to train, chances are your body's going to resist and it's going to start to put on weight. So look at your hormones. Don't just look at macros. And that's why I said sleep and stress as number 1 and 2. So, yeah. So, all right, let's get this last question because I got to get rolling, buddy. We're like, dude, we're crushing this thing. Yeah. So, last question comes from Johnny Martinez, and he said, I read this week that dieting and working out causes inflammation and water retention to heal muscles and ligaments, causing you to appear heavier on the scale. Makes sense, but is that true? Yes, it is. Now, dieting doesn't cause, and I clarified, I was like, wait, where'd you read that dieting causes inflammation? And he said that it was more the working out. Yes, working out does cause inflammation, which is why we need to rest and recover in between hard training bouts. But when you train, when you create many micro tears in the muscle that create soreness, that promotes an inflammatory response. That is the healing process. And that's why a lot of people are actually getting away from doing things like cryosauna and ice baths. In place of it, they're just letting their body heal, right? They're in like hot saunas to promote inflammation quickly to promote the healing process. But yeah, that's why, like, I'll tell you this, after an Ironman, for example, like after I race an Ironman, I gain about 7 pounds the week after Ironman. Now, it doesn't make sense, right? I just raced for 12 hours and I ran and biked and swam 170 miles. How in the hell did I gain weight? Inflammation. So yes, you're going to gain weight, especially if you do a hard race, if you do a race weekend, if you do a hard week of training, you can gain weight due to inflammation because of the stress and the inflammatory response in the healing process. So that's why it's really important also to, like, don't get on the damn scale all the time. Like, rarely should you be on a scale. Go by body fat percentages, which you can test every 4 to 6 weeks. But get off the damn scale because the scale does not equate for inflammation and water retention, right? Go by how your clothes fit. What's up?
Yeah, Mo, even in testing your body fat, that's a whole nother conversation you get into. The most accurate would be hydrostatically, right?
Well,
and that costs $80 a pop, best case scenario.
DEXA scan's the highest. Like a DEXA scan is the best. Hydrostatic weighing is second. But look, you can do calipers. Like caliper testing, I did that for years and years. And that's, you got I can't remember what the margin of error is on it, but it doesn't matter, right? If I do skin fold calipers, or if I go to a trainer at a gym and have them do skin fold calipers on me, I have the numbers, right? I know what the millimeters are. So then you go back 6 weeks later and you see if those have decreased. So it doesn't have to be exact and accurate. I get your point, but you can do it yourself. I mean, hell, you can buy some skin fold calipers on Amazon. Find the points, the 3 to 4 sites to test, and then test it every 6 weeks. So, Johnny, that's what I would tell you. Yes, to answer your question, you can and probably will see an increase in weight. But again, we don't know if that's water weight or if that's inflammation. So don't let that be the indicator of whether or not you're successful. Go by you can do circumference measurements. So again, you can use like a tape measurement, or you can do body fat, skin fold, and do those. Don't do those after hard workouts. Don't do those after races. Wait till you're recovered, wait till a week after, and then give that a shot. So that's the best way to do that. And again, that frees you up from the scale. I mean, hell, we don't own a scale. I haven't owned a scale in, good Lord, 9 years. So it doesn't matter. Go by other things. There are so many other metrics, because what happens, man, and I see this over and over and over again, is that people see the number on the scale and that sends them in a downward spiral. Then everything just goes to crap. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, well, this isn't working. Something's not right. And, then you just, and it's almost an irrelevant number based on what your goals are and the other many things that could be into play. So, yeah. That's all I got on that.
All right.
All right, buddy.
All right.
You got to go. I got to go. Thanks, everybody, for your questions. Hope we answered it. Keep sending us questions. We're going to do this again in a couple weeks. So have a great rest of your day. Eat clean. Watch your stress levels. Send us questions if you need to. Check out BroSet Performance Coaching YouTube. Subscribe and go get the hell after it. And we'll catch you next time for another episode of the Link Endurance Broadcast.
Peace.